A few years ago, I worked with an agent on my thriller, Redacted. I described to her how the book was set to the protagonist's own soundtrack. Her response was succinct. A book doesn't have a soundtrack. But what should have shut me down made me determined to prove her wrong ever since. 6 words, and I've thought about them more than any feedback I've ever received. Because part of that sentence is correct, but the claim underneath it is wrong. And I can prove it with the best-selling author's own website and examples from my own manuscript. Let's talk about music and fiction. So here's the part I've come around on. In a query letter, saying your book is set to a soundtrack is wrong. Not because it's untrue, but because of what an agent hears when you say it. An agent reading queries all day hears a writer imagining the movie instead of the book. They hear someone describing an atmosphere rather than a plot. A query has one job, which is to convey who wants what and what stands in the way. Every word spent on vibe is a word not spent on story. So if you're querying right now, take the soundtrack line out. But she was wrong about the book. And that distinction is why I'm making this video. Because plenty of writers have heard advice like that and determined that music has no place in fiction. That's the part I want to fix. If you want more craft breakdowns that get specific instead of vague, hit like and subscribe. It costs you nothing and it genuinely moves the needle for the channel. Now let me introduce my star witness. Michael Connelly has sold tens of millions of books. His detective, Harry Bosch, has anchored more than 20 novels and 2 television series. Connelly maintains a page on his own website that catalogs the music in his novels, organized by artist, organized by book. You can look up the Black Echo and find Coltrane, Sonny Rollins, Frank Morgan, Wayne Shorter, and a Hendrix track all on his list. A #1 best-selling crime novelist publishes the discography of his own fiction. If books don't have soundtracks, somebody should tell Michael Connelly, because he's been maintaining one in public for years. And it isn't decoration. Connelly has explained why Bosch listens to jazz. He wanted a character who works inside the system but feels permanently outside of it. And music is one of the tools he used to build that. In his own words, he wanted Bosch to be an insider, but I wanted him to feel like an outsider. But then he went further. Bosch grew up without knowing his father. His mother loved jazz. She was killed when he was in middle school. So Bosch's music is inherited from a murdered parent he barely got to have. His favorite player, Art Pepper, was a brilliant musician whose life ran through addiction in prison. Connelly built that into the milieu of Bosch. Its characterization delivered through what Bosch chooses to put on at midnight when the case has gone bad. If this is the kind of thing you like thinking about, I write about craft in my own road to publication every week at tjstecker.com. Free, and the link is below. Now let me open up about my own book. I went through the final file of Redacted and counted. 32 songs and 2 named albums. Before you say that's excessive, look at what the pattern does. Bluegrass and Americana show up almost exclusively when Jeff is alone, driving, running, walking to work with earbuds in. That's his interior life. And it's the music of the mountains he came from. Rock and grunge belong to other people. Pearl Jam in the Squadron Lounge, Stone Temple Pilots in a bar in Djibouti. That music is always coming out of somebody else's speakers because it belongs to the crowd he's standing in rather than to him. Then there's jazz. Jazz appears in exactly 2 scenes in the novel, and both of them are with Vicky. Oliver Nelson's Cascades plays the morning after they first sleep together. And Oliver Nelson's Stolen Moments plays the moment she's gone. Same artist, opening and closing. When she leaves the book, the jazz leaves with her. I'd love to tell you I planned all of that. And I planned some of it. The rest came out of the drafting that I only realized once I started counting up the songs this month. Which is exactly how this works for most writers. You're building a pattern whether you're tracking it or not. And 2 of those songs aren't atmosphere at all, they're plot. A Beatles track playing over a neighbor's fence is what makes Jeff realize his uncle's letter is written in code. A carving of 10 musical notes turns out to be the opening of a song everyone in America can hum, and cracking that is what breaks the case wide open. Delete the music from my novel and the mystery stops functioning. Try deleting the score from a film and see if the plot collapses. It won't, which means the music in a novel can do something structurally that it cannot do in film. But here's the useful part, because there is a wrong way to do this. Where it doesn't work is using a song as a shortcut for an emotion you didn't earn. If a sad track comes on to tell the reader the scene is sad, you've outsourced your job to a musician. That's the version of soundtrack the agent was right to flag. The test I use now has 2 questions. Does the choice reveal something about the person choosing it? And would the scene lose information if I cut the reference? When Bosch puts on Art Pepper, we learn about his mother and his life amongst damaged people. When Jeff's iPod shuffles to Jolene, it lands because that's his sister's name, and their relationship is fractured. The music is carrying information. I've put the full Redacted playlist on Spotify and linked it in the description. 32 tracks. Play it start to finish and you'll hear the novel's full emotional shape before you ever read the book. which is either proof of my argument or proof that I have too much time on my hands. To that agent, wherever you are, thank you for that note. You made my query letter better, but you were wrong about music and books. Tell me in the comments, what's on your protagonist playlists? And if you're a reader, tell me a novel where music mattered. So until next time, I'll see you by the fire.